All right, today we're going to be looking at the physical sets for this awesome Charizard. Let's get into it. All right, so let's look at our first physical attack Charizard here, and it is going to be the Tera type Fire, and that is going to turn us into a mono Fire type, which is pretty cool because it gets rid of that flying weaknesses that we have like Rock and Electricity, so that's pretty nice. Now, what we're going to do with this build is we're actually going to make this a bulky build. We're going to put 212 EVs into HP, 132 into defense, and 164 into special defense. So again, this is going to give us that bulk that we want, going to increase our survivability, and make it so when we use Belly Drum, we're not taking as significant a hit to our total move HP percentage. Now, speaking of Belly Drum, that is going to be the more important thing here to focus on for the moveset. All these physical builds are going to have that Belly Drum, and this is going to be super important because that's going to maximize our attack. That is why we didn't put any EVs into the actual attack stat here, why we worked on bulk as well. Now, you could take some EVs from HP defense and special defense and supplement that into your attack, but with Belly Drum, you more often than not will not really need that. If you do put some of those EVs into attack, there will be a time where you one-shot something that you otherwise would not have one-shot. But for the most part, when you use Belly Drum, that's going to really make you so strong that most of the time, if you're hitting something with an effective or super effective attack, it's going to be done. Now, if you're hitting something with a not very effective attack, that's not going to one-shot it all the time, or even probably half the time. But Charizard does have a good coverage pool. There's a lot of moves in there that you can put on. So what we're going to do here is talk about the moveset. Flame Charge is going to be our fire stab bonus here. And the reason I'm choosing Flame Charge over something like Flare Blitz, even though it has less damage, it is going to counter no EVs into speed by giving us a +1 to our speed stat every time we hit with Flame Charge. And that's going to, like I said, that's going to compensate for no EVs into speed. And it's going to make us fast like Charizard needs to be. So that's why I have Flame Charge here. Now, you could swap that out for a heavier hitting physical fire move. That's completely up to you, but I do like having Flame Charge here. Now, Acrobatics is going to be on here because I know it's a low power move, but when you don't have an item, it doubles its power. And so with the stab bonus that you get from the fire flying type, not when you're Tera, but when you get that stab bonus plus the double attack from when you don't have an item, because when you use Belly Drum, your Citrus Berry is going to proc and go away, and you will be holding nothing. You're going to do a good amount of damage with this Acrobatics, and it's a good stab bonus for you with that flying, especially if you already have Belly Drum procced off. Okay, now this is where you can kind of do whatever it is coverage that you want to do. I like the idea of Earthquake here. You don't see a whole lot of Charizard using Earthquake. And so this could be fun for you to use, definitely hurt some things on the ground that would be otherwise harmful to you. Or you could go with Thunder Punch here, and that would be great coverage, especially when you're in Mono Fire. That'd be great coverage against the water types that come out to hurt you. So that would give you good coverage there as well. Either one is fine. It's really up to you. And you could even supplement another move in, but I'm definitely going to use one of these two. And Earthquake's the one I've been kind of going with the most. All right, the final things to talk about here are Blaze should be your ability. You do not need solar power on this. You're not using any special attack moves, so that will have no benefit to you. And if the harsh sunlight does come out, either from your side or the opposition side, all that's going to do is take some chip damage off you every turn, and you don't need that. So I would go ahead and go Blaze for this. The nature we're going to choose here is Impish because, again, we're working on that bulk, and this is going to help your defenses. So go ahead and put Impish on there to give you a little extra bulk. If you do really want to focus on that physical attack stat, then go ahead and put something on like Adamant. That's completely up to you, but I want to have a little bit bulkier here. And then the Citrus Berry is pretty much a necessity for using the Belly Drum here. Once you drop that down to 50%, when you use Belly Drum, the Citrus Berry will proc and heal you a little bit going forward. That being said, with Belly Drum, make sure you're having a good team composition here to take the focus off of the Charizard. You either want something that's a bigger, more immediate threat out on the field, or something like Moongus or Indeedee that can use a follow me type move to get all that hate, aggro, and attack off of the Charizard. Because if you get hit in the first turn after you use Belly Drum, it's likely that you're gonna die. So you've got to be super careful about that. You want to make sure you have the right team composition there, otherwise that Charizard just won't last. Alright, so the next build here is going to be a Tera ground typing for the Charizard, and honestly, I'm really excited about this one. I think this has a lot of possibility, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But let's look at the stats and everything first here. So, HP, we're going to go 212 EVs in, and we're going to change it up from the last build by putting 88 EVs into defense, 116 into special defense, and then 92 into attack. So we are going to bolster our attack stat by just a little bit here. So this is going to be a little more well-rounded. We obviously are putting some EVs into bulk here with the HP at 212 and stuff, but we're also getting that little bit of attack damage here, and that's mostly because we're trying to make this ground one here a set that's going to destroy things. So with the moveset, we're still going to keep Flame Charge on here because I'm still a big fan of getting that +1, at least +1 to speed here. Now, you're going to have to use that opportunistically. If something that is out on the field that is a threat to you, you're going to want to do more damage to it and get it off the field faster. But if you have the ability to get that Flame Charge out, maybe you'll kill something, or it's just something you're going to chip and your partner Pokemon's going to take it out if you're doing doubles, then I recommend getting that out and doing it. That being said, Acrobatics, again, I still like being able to use this because once you use that berry, it doubles its damage out. And then Earthquake, we are definitely using Earthquake for this because this is the Tera ground build, and that's going to make Earthquake very, very dangerous. Now, you want to get your belly drum off right away again, right? So make sure you get your belly drum off, and then it's going to make that Earthquake a crazy dangerous thing, especially because it hits everything on the field. So if you're doing doubles, this is a really nice thing for you, but you might want to partner your Charizard with something that has Levitate, like a Rotom or something in that kind of realm. The ability item Nature, we're looking at Blaze again, because again, we're not using special attacks, so Solar Power has no benefit. And use Impish to bolster some of those defenses, specifically your physical defense. And then the Citrus Berry, so that you get some of that health back after you use the Belly Drum. Now, Charizard's super weak against rock types. We know that. Something like a Tyranitar comes out, uses Stone Edge, or even a Rock Slide, and it's going to drop that Charizard in one hit. No matter what, it's just done. Well, with the ground typing, that kind of changes the balance of things a little bit. In fact, it puts it completely in the Charizard's favor. So if we take a look here at Tyranitar versus Charizard with this build set here at the ground typing. When it's not in the ground typing, this Tyranitar wins in a 1-to-1. Like 100% it does. But when we go to ground typing, you can see the heaviest damage, and this was Stone Edge, not Rock Slide. The heaviest damage that this thing's going to be able to put out is with an Earthquake, and it's only going to do 38% damage to the Charizard. So the Charizard, even at 75% health, lives for at least 2 attacks. The Tyranitar, on the other hand, gets one shot by that Charizard. Now, you can see I maxed the EVs on this Tyranitar. All of them are 252, but that's just because I was maxing it out just to see what everything did. However, if you have a max defense, max HP Tyranitar ready to go, you're going to one-shot it. You're going to go from 151 to 178% damage, and this thing is not going to live. That's one Earthquake, and that T-Tar is off the field. It is gone. Now, if you want to talk about something that has an even higher defense stat than the Tyranitar and still has a lot of trouble for a Charizard normally, let's take a look at Regirock. Now, Regirock's base defense stat is 200, which is pretty crazy. It's not the highest, I think Shuckle is, but this is pretty dang high, 200. So we put 252 EVs into its defense and 252 EVs into its HP. This thing is a monster of a wall. It really, really is. However, with Earthquake plus 6 Belly Drum, we one-shot the Regirock. It's gone. 107 to 127% damage, and that is the end of something that's a wall. It's weak to this ground type. It's a good matchup for the Charizard when you have this Tera type ground. That's why I'm so excited about it, because I think you're going to be able to trap some opponents that are coming out to get rid of your Charizard, and then all of a sudden you just one-tap them, and they barely did anything to you, even if they did go first. So a couple other little notes here for this Tera ground typing. When you do transform out of that flying type, you are going to not be as affected by things like Stealth Rock anymore. So normally that's a huge drawback for Charizard, and one of the reasons why he's not even used a lot in a lot of different sets, especially around Gen 7, is because of the traps that were set in the field, and Stealth Rock would literally take off 50% of that Charizard's health if you swapped it in, rendering it almost useless from the get-go. So it was really, really rough to use. But when you're changing its typing, that Stealth Rock, well, it's now resistant to the Stealth Rock being ground typing, and so it doesn't do nearly as much damage. So you actually have more play here with it in that sense. That being said, there are different weaknesses and resistances that it has. When you're ground type, just keep in mind you are going to be weak to water still, and you are going to have a grass and ice weakness, which normally a Charizard would resist. So you are going to have 2 additional weaknesses that you normally wouldn't have. So just make sure in your mind you're remembering, hey, I'm still weak to water, and I'm also weak to grass and ice. But you are going to pick up an electric immunity, whereas you used to be weak to that when you were a flying type. Now, being on the ground, you are actually immune to all electric attacks. The other thing is you are going to be resistant to poison and rock. Those are both 50% resistances or half resistances, so that is something for you to also know in the back of your head. So of all the Tera type builds, I'm really excited about this physical ground one. I think this has a lot of application because there's a lot of things that get sent out to destroy that Charizard, and this neutralizes a lot of those weaknesses, and I think it will catch a lot of people off guard. I really do. So I'm a big fan of this this ground set here, and I think I'm going to be using this one of the most for my Charizards. All right, let's take a look at the last set. Now, we're going to use the Dragon Tera typing, and this is because everybody just received their Charizard. If you were able to do the raids, you were able to get that Tera Dragon type Charizard from those raids, and I know shards are a little rough to come by sometimes, so maybe you haven't been able to change the typing. So Dragon is what we're going to look at here for the final one, and let's take a look. So we got HP 132, defense 132, and attack 244. Now, of course, those are your EVs. So we're going to make this one, got a little bit of bulk, more on the physical defensive side here, but we're really going to focus on making this a really hard-hitting Charizard, something that's going to go and really attack and just kill everything as much as we can. Okay, let's take a look at the moveset here for the Charizard. Now, with the high attack value that we're going into this Charizard, you would be completely justified to swap out Flame Charge for a Flare Blitz or even something like a Fire Punch, Fire Fang, whatever. But I still recommend keeping that Flame Charge so you do get that bonus to your speed. That +1, even +2 will make a significant difference, and you will just have an easier time. But it's completely up to you. I would totally get it if you do a very heavy-hitting Flare Blitz. That being said, acrobatics, you could still keep that as all the reasons we've talked about already, or you could switch it out into a steel type move like Iron Tail, so that way you have some coverage against some of the fairy types that come out against you. Keep in mind you've got new ones like Tinkatongue that is fairy and steel typing, so you're not going to one-shot that with an Iron Tail, but you could have that on for the extra coverage, and there's a bunch of other moves you could put on here for Charizard's coverage as well. For the Dragon typing, this is where you really get to do what you want to do. You can either go for the consistent 80 power damage with Dragon Claw, or you can swap it out to the Dragon Rush and do crazy damage, but with only a 75 accuracy. All right, so for the ability item in nature, Blaze again, because we are physical, not special attack in these sets here. And we are going to do careful sets so we can work on our defenses just a little bit more. And then we are also going to use that Citrus Berry just like the other sets. And the reason we are using that careful nature is that's going to boost our special defense just a little bit since we're not putting any EVs into our special defense. But you could totally swap this out for an Adamant or a Jolly or even an Impish to work on the actual physical defense here. It's up to you what you want to do. I like having a little bit more balance on the defense, but it's up to you. All right, so once you transition into that Tera Dragon typing, you are going to have your resistances flop. In this case, you're going to be 2 times weak to Ice, 2 times weak to Dragon, and 2 times weak to Fairy. You will have 0 immunities, but you will pick up a couple resistances here, including an electric resistance. It's going to be 50% resistant to electric, and you still have a resistance to grass and fire, but you also become resistant to water, so that's a nice little bonus for you if they send out a water Pokemon against you. Now you're good to go. All right, that is our 3 physical Charizard sets that we're going to have on this video here today. But with the Tera Shards, there's so much you can do with this Pokemon. He's got great coverage. So let me know down in the comments if you've got a build that you really, really like. Maybe it's an electric build. I don't know. You let me know, and I'll look at it, and I love to hear it. Otherwise, thank you so much for hanging out, guys. Please drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Totally helps the channel out. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing everybody in the next video. But until then, Take care.